This is the time to deal with the things that are difficult in my life. Yesterday, a friend I had not seen for a long time came to visit me. That friend is someone I do value, even if we don't meet very much. I value his sensitivity and abilities to work with healing energies. I value his intuitive gifts. Yet I also recognize in him patterns of attracting people who are being very difficult in his life, always difficult. So yesterday, when he came, I was still working at about 7:30 at night. And he told me about his life. We then went back to the house to save my dinner that was heating up. And as he had already eaten, he sat there watching me eat while telling me about his life. His life and the experiences he had had were extraordinary, and I was very grateful that he would share them in such intimate details with me. However, and because there is always a however in those stories, this friend was not interested in my life and what was happening with me. The very few times I attempted to make him want to listen to me or ask questions, what I was about to say seemed to last less than a minute. And as I dropped into the gulf, into the crevasse of silence, he carried on talking about himself, which was fine, as I do not see him very often. I am glad to be a person who is there and listens to others. I do not know if he enjoyed being heard or listened to by me. We had been lovers once, and that doesn't matter, even though because of it he was able to share more intimate details. We talked for about an hour and a half. Well, I say we, but again, mostly it was he talked. And it's okay, I kept telling myself, it's okay. It's okay if I'm not heard. It's okay if he's not really interested in what's happening in my life. It's okay if I'm not able to speak out or speak up. And as he left, he asked me, "So, how is the chalk business, the chocolate business?" By that point, I thought it was pointless starting to talk about myself, since he was leaving. And I said, "It's fine," which it is. It's fine. It was too late to ask me. By that point, I was annoyed. One thing was interesting is after I'd eaten my dinner, And he carried on talking, which, as I will say again, was very interesting to hear what he was saying. I started feeling scratchy around the places I have a rash, which rash has not cleared with the last Kambo session. My backside started itching. My thigh started itching. And at some point it was so strong I had to get up and put some vinegar in it. He didn't stop and say, "Are you okay?" Which is okay. It's probably better because I was putting vinegar and discreetly as I could, and the vinegar calmed some of the itching. But I said at the end, "I have to check you out. It's 10 o'clock. It's my bedtime." By that point, I was very itchy and I was uncomfortable mentally. The only time I had attempted to talk about something, I thought, if he's not interested in me, I'll talk about what I'm reading about at the moment. And I told him that the viruses don't exist. And he said, bullshit, it's not 5G, New Papua New Guinea, whatever it's called. There's no 5G. People had loads of plagues there. And at that point I thought, okay, he doesn't want to believe, that's fine. And I said to him, you know why I love believing that viruses don't exist? Because it makes me feel so free. It liberates me from the fear of being attacked in the bush or by someone's breath, by something that's so noxious and toxic and stuff. And I left it at that. I thought it's pointless to talk with him. Pointless. And it's not whether the virus theory is right or not. I rather like to believe in it, but it doesn't matter really if he doesn't want to believe in it. He actually accepted that it was doing me good to believe in those things, because it freed me from a fear that I didn't need to have anymore, yet made me feel more aware of the toxicity of too many EMFs around me, of eating the wrong things too often, toxic, what I consider toxic things, like too much of sugar, too much of refined flours, too much of meats with preservatives, anything. It doesn't matter. The point is, when I went to bed, I was frustrated. I felt upset with myself, because this is a repeating pattern. I thought about this, and in my life, I have two people, who actually listen to me. One of them is a healer, friend of mine, who insists he can help heal and shrink the fibroid and the uterus. And his sessions are amazing. He's really, really helpful. And I love being heard by him, because he's not talkative like everybody else. He keeps space. And I value that in him so much. I value knowing him. He's so funny, so interesting, really interesting. He knows so many things. And the other one is someone I very, very rarely see, who's very open, and he listens a lot because he doesn't speak much. And because of that, he told me once, when he saw me, and I was a bit delirious because I was excited that day, he said, "You've spoken 85% of the time." And I was so astonished to think that me, I overtalked him and I did not listen to him. And it is true, and I realized the pattern and we laughed about it. I realized that I was so amazed someone was not talking over me, interrupting me or letting me speak. It was such a relief that I just talked all the time. I could not stop myself. And this person I'm going to see today, a part of my once a year or twice a year of seeing him, which is great. I look forward to it. But tomorrow I have another friend who is coming, and I know what's going to happen. He will talk about himself, and he's really, really, really interesting because he's interested in all the psychic development, spirit entities, anything that I find so fascinating, which if I have any gifts for, they are pretty buried. And I know he might ask me about myself because he's polite, but I know this won't last very long. I've got another person, of course I forgot to mention, but when we met he spoke more than me. So even though now we are sort of equal in our communication, I don't count him yet as a person I can rely on to be heard. Not yet. It takes time to understand and communicate. So this morning, I wanted to share about this. I wanted to share my frustration with my voice, with feeling heard, and I am sharing it now. Because in alternative thought, the throat is linked with the cervix and the sexual organs, at least for a woman. And we all know, or at least Alexandra who's watching this, you know, how much I've struggled with the sexual aspect in my life. I used to be pretty free, but I was desperate and I went into the wrong places. And slowly over the years, more and more sand, more and more heavy material has built up over my ability to feel free sexually. And feel free vocally, I have never been. So it was obvious that in an alternative way something was going to happen to my womb. This pattern of not being heard is one that has been with me since childhood. I was born to be expansive. I was born to be the center of attention, and I so wanted it when I was little and I was growing up. But it went somewhere else, and without it going somewhere else, I would not be where I am today. Therefore, I am grateful that I felt insignificant and not heard when I was a child and a teenager and as an adult. This feeling of not being heard, of attracting always in my life people who don't hear me, who do not let me finish my sentences, or who do not leave me enough silence for this shy expression of mine to come out and release through that relief of expression everything which I so want to express. It sounds like dramatic, doesn't it? I'm making sure I'm putting dramatic tones in my voice. So I am grateful my childhood was the way it was. Yes, I am grateful. I am grateful I was not heard. I am grateful today that I am discerning about seeing or speaking to people who just talk about themselves. And I am grateful I have a mean to record myself, so I can talk to myself and listen to myself at last. At least someone is listening, and that is me. It is time I give myself the joy of being heard. And I can tell from my voice that is not assured, that is not clear. And it's okay. I accept my voice to be like this. I accept I am upset about mostly attracting in my life and being surrounded with people who are not interested in what I have to say, where I feel what I say has no value, what I say is insignificant, and I am insignificant. And I am there for others, but I am not there to be heard or for myself. And for this, even though I will not talk about it very much, I also want to mention the repression and the difficulty I feel at being sexually able to feel like the woman body that I am temporarily this time round. It is extremely hard to feel anything there at all. In fact, I'm feeling emotion right now, and it's okay. If I narrate what's in my head, I want to hide. I feel scared. And my strength has disappeared in front of me, far, far away, so it can hide. And I feel alone with this feeling of failure, of feeling my strength as a sexual human being. The strength of being heard, the feeling of strength I get when I express, when I allow myself, when I allow plants to make me into someone else who's more vocal and stronger. The weakness I feel in myself, both sexually and vocally, verbally, yet I am able to speak to myself right now, and for this I am grateful. It is like my body has abandoned me, and I have abandoned my body as well. We don't really want to be with each other, and that's okay. So, to finish this recording, I am going to do some tapping on the expression. So to release or tell my subconscious that I am willing to listen to it. I am willing to listen to what it wants, if only it tells me what it wants. And I thank my throat, I thank the growth that I have on my throat, which is probably a gland. which to me mirrors the growth that I have in my womb, the lack of expression, the feeling put aside insignificant, uninteresting, and unheard. I'm not narrating anymore, but it's okay. Even though I am not heard, even though I am not interesting to others, even though others just want to talk about themselves, even though others do not share the silence with me, others are asking a question and then taking the conversation elsewhere, even though I feel frustrated, and I have felt frustrated all my life for feeling repressed verbally, for not being heard, for the trauma not to be considered, even though I have had to hide and I so wanted to express and be myself and be on stage and be the bright light that I believe I was born to be. And even though I am surrounded mostly by people who are not interested in listening to me, I love and accept myself completely and fully, exactly as I am right now. This lack of expression, this not being heard, this lack of expression, this lack of interest in other people for me, this feeling repressed and insignificant, this feeling that I do not matter, that I am not interesting, this feeling that I am here to give and not here to receive, this feeling I am here to listen forever and become and be quiet like the tomb, feeling quiet like a tomb. Others do not listen to me. This feeling, others do not listen to me, I am insignificant and unimportant. Start again. I will do it twice. Even though I still feel insignificant, I still feel surrounded by people who do not listen to me and who show no interest in me. Even though I feel I am in a tower of silence where I am due to stay for the rest of my life. Even though I feel I will never be heard, even though I feel I am uninteresting, even though I feel I have no value, even though I feel my voice is incapable of speaking coarsely and concisely and with strength, even though I have forever felt timid and shy, unable to speak, and overlooked by others, even though I have felt in a tower of silence for most of my life, until now, I love and accept myself exactly as I am right now. This tower of silence that I am locked into, this tower of silence, tower of silence. This tower of silence. This tower of silence I am locked into. This feeling insignificant and others not listening to me. Others aren't interested in me. Others do not listen. Even my good friends do not listen. I feel unheard, and I feel I can never express without someone giving me some fucking advice. I do not require advice. I want to be heard. I want to be heard. This feeling of not being heard, this feeling that I am not important enough to be heard, nor significant or valuable enough. This wanting to express and be heard, this wanting to sing, this wanting to play, this wanting to act, this wanting to be heard. This blockage about being heard, this blockage, feeling locked inside about being heard, feeling locked inside and people not interested in what I have to say. This being blamed for being egoic when I express anything. And I say to that, fuck you. I am doing my best. And I say goodbye. With love. Whatever love I am capable of. I thank all those who do listen to me, and I bless you with the gift of being heard and being significant for others. Thank you for listening to me.